Julians, thank you so much for the kind introduction. I appreciate it, and it's good to see you again. We have an exciting conversation here today, but before we get started, I would love to start with Chetan at the end, and we'll go this way. Please introduce yourself, your company, and whether or not you think AI will actually make a difference in real estate.
Thanks. So, my name is Chetan Ratna with Schneider Electric. And the question was, will AI make a difference in real estate? The answer is mute because it's already making the difference.
No, I don't think so. I think I completely agree. It's here, it's huge. You can't underestimate it, you have to get in on it now. My name is Koen, I own a business called Your AI Consultancy, so do I have to say this, or is this the truth? It's probably the truth. AI is here and it's going to make a huge impact.
Good afternoon. My name is Gadwell, CEO and founder of Bakison Enterprises, ELV company. AI is going to make a very, very huge impact in the real estate development.
Well, thank you. Now let's dive into that even more and what you mean by that precisely. But Gadwell, I'd like to start with you. You know, looking at smart systems and such within real estate, how is it impacting every aspect of the value chain from your perspective?
Yes. The growth of AI and smart technology is transforming or reshaping the real estate industry in different or various ways. I would like to talk about how buildings are designed, how they are constructed, and also how they are experienced. So the integration of AI and smart technology, you will find that it's reshaping the way people consume everything that is within the property that has been offered to them. We're looking about how at building operations, the experience, maintenance of specific aspects of the building, you'll find that there's real-time monitoring where you have unified solutions like fire and evacuation solutions, you have lighting solutions, you have access control. This is all put together in a unified technology or platform, all IoT, if I can say that, where you'll find that it's real-time monitoring of all the aspects of the building. This gives a very good experience to the customer, to the tenant who is staying at the specific property. And also the experience is even more enhanced because you will find that the IoT, the Internet of Things, will learn the behavioral changes that I make when I'm staying in that property, like the kind of lighting mode I would like, the temperature, HVAC controls that I've put in. And when I leave the premise and come back maybe later, it learns the mood that I had left initially, and then conforms again to the mood that I left. Without knowing it, you'll find that I'm more encouraged to stay in such kind of an apartment as compared to another apartment that doesn't have this kind of learning. The maintenance, routine maintenance, and you find that the real-time monitoring of the fire, the evacuation, the access control, and all these kind of things, you will mitigate any failures into the system early enough. So this avoids the downtime of the systems. So it prevents downtime because I'm able to catch that as early as possible. Yeah, just to mention just a few.
And it can protect assets, it can do a variety of different things. It's not just a convenience. I think a lot of people, you know, think of AI and real estate just as something convenient, something nice. You know, I think it actually has tangible impacts.
A lot.
Perfect. Now, Chetan, before we went on stage, you had told me an interesting example of actually how some of these technologies are being leveraged within the space. And I think you had used an example of a hospital, which is very timely considering the presentation we just had. I was curious, I've heard the example, but no one else has. Can you take us through what you meant by that and what we can learn from that example?
Sure, thanks. So before going into that, on the technology itself, if we look at it, in real estate or in construction, you have the BIM modeling, BIM, from the 1D to the 7D, which starts from design all the way to the digital twin for maintenance. Once you adopt and live with it completely, one of the things that we've seen is the cost of construction drops by 30%. That's one. Two, the cost of operation drops by 50%. So that's real-time savings that comes in. In terms of efficiencies, and this is where the example comes in, when we look at healthcare, when the global pandemic, the COVID hit, one of the key things that every hospital did is they separated an entire ward just for COVID patients. Why did they do this? Because they did not have a way of isolating each of the rooms separately to avoid the pathogens moving from one room to the other. In Kenya, we have an example where the hospital itself, using the technology, the BMS, they were able to adopt it and adapt it in a way that depending on which patient is in which room, they're able to regulate it correctly so that you can have one COVID patient in one room and the next room is a patient who is going through probably another surgery. This way, the hospital was able to optimize the amount of occupancy. At that point in time, I think hospitals were more than 100% occupancy, and they were trying to build new hospitals or temporary hospitals. This particular hospital maintained the 100% without having to expand into a temporary facility. So that's how technology aids. And with AI coming in further, it helps you to do that automated. So you don't have to have manual intervention.
Thank you. Now, Cohen, you're a consultant, so I assume we get a few free minutes with you that aren't billable. But I'm curious, from your perspective and your work with clients and such, what have you seen as some of the most revolutionary technologies, maybe it's AI, maybe it's not, that people are leveraging within the space?
So as I showed before, for those who weren't in my workshop, there are several types of AI, and I think a lot of businesses focus on the traditional AI, which I call task-based AI, when an AI is very good at one single thing. For instance, identifying where energy needs to be shifted in a building. But I think the other types, generative AI and agentic AI in particular, is the most important one because we all have to be scared for our jobs right now. There are certain organizations which have their main purpose of inventing AI that can replace all white-collar work. So it's not, and this is not to scare you, it's just to empower you, but it's a real deal that, you know, an AI cannot do plumbing yet, or it cannot, it can kind of buy your groceries already, but there are certain jobs that it cannot do, but it can definitely do a lot of computer items like, for instance, administrative tasks are the first to go. Tomorrow I'll present a list of like the jobs that are the first to go and the jobs that are growing and the skills that are most in demand and the skills that are least in demand. And the first to go are administrative jobs online. And I like this space because it enables us and empowers us to do more and frees up more time. But there is a conversation of, okay, how much of your own role is going to be outsourced by AI? How do we define value in your work? These are big questions because agentic AI, I think, is the biggest thing right now, the biggest thing to focus on. As, for instance, right now, I told it before, like there are agents right now doing my LinkedIn post. They are DMing right now, they're emailing, and they're emailing in a way that's is not just a one-off message. It's emailing in a personal way, how I've trained it to be like me, right? So I like analyzing within organizations, not to get rid of people, but to see what can AI agents augment, and how can that be combined with generative AI and with this data that we have, traditional AI, and then have autonomous systems 24/7 do things for us, not just buy our groceries or our flight tickets, but actually do meaningful work, because there's a lot that you can outsource within the next years.
Interesting. I was speaking a few weeks ago at Strathmore University, and one of the things that had come up, a student had asked, why should I continue going to school if AI is, playing a role? And one of the panelists had answered, it says, the people who are going to be replaced by AI are the ones who refuse to use it. The ones who use it for efficiency, use it for management, use it in the agentic way, not just the traditional LLM models. There is a huge opportunity there. So I think that was good advice. I just wanted to mention that real quick. Now, Gadwell, I want to come back over to you, because you work with a lot of clients and such. So I'm curious, are most of the traditional players in the industry that you work with or regularly communicate with, are you finding that people are open to these technologies, or they're still a little bit standoffish?
Yes and no. Yes, in the fact that you'll find that in most of the projects, especially the new build projects, even if a client had an existing project and they are now constructing a new project, they actually want to incorporate systems like EMS, that is the energy management solutions. They want to incorporate BMS solutions. They want to incorporate things like HVAC control systems that are smart, and they are able to monitor their buildings remotely from where they are. The only challenge you find in the already existing buildings, which maybe you might call them the traditional players, the challenge is how do they then incorporate the technology in an already existing building? Products like BMS are not very affordable products. They are becoming affordable, yes, from the field that I play in. They're becoming affordable, but you'll find that adopting it in an already existing building becomes extremely expensive, because there are so many changes that you have to do in terms of new cabling, to adopt now the smart cabling solutions and the like. So yes, they want to adopt it. The only challenge is cost, and the cost of actually adopting it. In the new buildings, you'll find that when we come very early in the project, we are advising the clients on the importance of AI, the importance of smart technology, and you'll find that they are fitting it into their budgets. So in most cases, we go into the projects during planning stages, and we give you the cost of the construction, of the whole construction of your smart technology. Then you're able to slowly adopt it in your construction as you go along. So yes, a lot of people are adopting to this kind of technology.
Okay, yeah, you kind of hit on one of the follow-up questions I wanted to ask, but I think, Chetan sits in a great position to, answer this as well, is, for high value, kind of high class level, say apartments, brand new build, it makes sense to utilize some of these technologies, but, right now we hear a lot about affordable housing and various other things. Do you think one day it'll be affordable for more affordable housing projects and such that aren't on that top level segment to be able to implement some of these technologies?
Thanks, Andrew. So on my side, the way I see it, it's more of a mindset on adoption of technology rather than the cost of the technology. The individual technology, when you take it as a standalone, yes, it's more expensive. But when you put it together in the infrastructure and the solution, it helps you reduce your cost. The same goes for affordable housing. Yes, definitely, at this point in time, home automation for an affordable house might not be possible. But the spline or the main spine itself can become technology savvy, and you can save a lot of energy based on that. Right now, I'll take the most typical traditional system, which is solar. Everyone implements a solar. They say it's a grid tie, we're good, we're happy, let's move on. But there's about 40% of that energy which is not utilized. Because if you're looking at housing during the day, most of the people are not in the houses. So where is that energy going? It's being wasted. So how do you repurpose that into a set of technology that will be used during the evening? How do you use predictive analysis to figure out that there's a cloud cover coming up? I'm going to have a shortage of energy. Let's ramp up whatever other sources we have. So it already exists. It's now when we're doing the planning itself, from the basics, put the technology in, it does help. Retrofitting, yes, definitely, it becomes more expensive. But that's the direction that we're headed to as well. Not everyone will make a new building. The existing buildings also are in competition with the new buildings. So they will adopt the technology.
Okay, interesting. Now, I want to come back to Cohen, but I want to ask each of you this question, because then I want to do a quick Q&A before we're knocked off the stage. But Cohen, over the next 10 to 15 years, what do you think are going to be the biggest transitions that we see technology-driven within just the general real estate sector?
So there's been a big research by the Global Economic Forum, and they actually mapped this out. They checked out, I don't think it's actually just real estate, but it's a lot of industries. And they saw that in this field, I think upskilling, it sounds very lame, but just upskilling people is the most important thing. They saw that let me just get these numbers right from the top of my mind, but I think at least more than half of the people will have to work together with AI and will be upskilled in their field, right? You see it also with I think Donald Trump now makes it mandatory to have AI being taught in schools in every subject, and in China it's also mandatory in elementary schools. So we see now that in the workforce, it's also, this trend is following, and more than half needs to be upskilled. And I think that more than 40%, a little bit over 40%, are looking to downsize their company when it comes to getting new people in who are already trained on AI. So I think training is the most important thing. And that goes into every business and every organization and every industry to get everybody up to speed with what you can do and also what you cannot do, right? There's loads of risks involved in this. AI makes such huge mistakes as well. There was a lawsuit with somebody who had a bump, like with a cart in the airplane. Somebody bumped into his leg, and they sued the airplane, and they used ChatGPT. And this was a huge thing where the lawyers didn't know how to use ChatGPT. They thought it was like Google, where you can just do some fact checking. He was obviously not upskilled, and now they have to pay a huge fine, right? So it comes with a lot of flaws. We're in the infancy. It's really like the old days of the internet, where you put something in AI and it can make mistakes, right? So we have to upskill people. What are those mistakes? What are the risks with it? And how can you make sure that your company doesn't explode, where nothing gets leaked into the public, where you can actually properly use it? So I think education is the most important one and the most game-changing one.
Now, Gadwell, tell me, 10 to 15 years, what do you think is going to be the biggest transition within the industry?
10, 15 years. I'll piggyback to what Koina said about training, because what we are facing at this point in time is trained personnel to be able, number one, to integrate the systems. You'll find that we need a lot of training in terms of what do these systems come with. There are so many protocols, which I'm sure Cheta knows so well about, the KNX, Modibus, all these kind of protocols that need to be trained to, first of all, the integrators and also to the consumers of the technology, because it has to be two ways. What am I selling to you, or what am I bringing to you? Do you understand it? Do you understand how to operate it? For you to be able to maximize on one, your ESG rating. Number 2, on your controls of what are you controlling, the lighting, HVAC, and every other IoT device that you have. Are you able to actually manage the unified platform that comes with that technology for you to be able to get the maximum value from it? So that training is extremely important. Number 2, yet to see PropTech creating, I don't know if it has done in Africa yet, creating a twin chain where you replicate the physical building entirely into a machine where you're able to monitor that building from wherever you are. Just being able to monitor every aspect of that building. So I think we're going to see something close to that in 15 or even 10 years to come. And even more adaptation of controls in terms of I'm able to control the IoT devices to reduce on carbon emissions and stuff like that. So even getting towards also meeting the ESG ratings and stuff like that. So there's so much that we are yet to see, and I'm happy to be in the space of technology where I get to experience it firsthand. And for us as a company, we are doing a lot of training, sending people from Kenya abroad for training. Our technical team teams are getting a lot of training, and as far as that is concerned, installation of BMS solutions, installation of EMS solutions, the confusion between EMS solutions and GRMS solutions, and all this, there's a lot of confusion. So the training, as Chetan has said, Cohen has said, is very important.
Okay, thank you. Chetan, same question. 10 to 15 years, what do you think is going to be the biggest transition within the space?
So there are multiple falls of the transition. The first, the base itself, which is upskilling, training, understanding. That's the core fundamental. When we move into the building side of the space, there are 4 key things that have already started happening: more digital, more energy. However, there are 4 pillars that are standing out clearly that every property developer is looking at. One is resilience. How resilient is my property? The second is efficiency. And when we talk about efficiency, it's now hyper efficiency. We can no longer afford to have the building efficient. It needs to be hyper efficient. The third one is people centricity. So who are the individuals, who are the organizations that are coming in, and what are they looking for? Is the property developed to that level? The fourth one is sustainability. How sustainable is this building? From carbon emission to energy efficiency to maintenance. And that creates the pillar for technology itself. How do we bring all this in together? So there are multiple solutions, there are multiple products, and it's a massive shift. In East Africa right now, I would say the East Africa community, 3 countries so far have already said we're ramping up heavily on e-mobility. That brings in a different challenge altogether in terms of technology, in terms of infrastructure. So definitely a massive shift happening within the 10 years, but the core sits from technology and training.
Okay, thank you so much. I see we have a little less than 3 minutes left. Does anyone have a quick question? I didn't have to move.
Hi, my name is Maureen Kimani. I'm from Parallax Technologies. So I'd like to know, there's a lot of talks on training. Everyone is saying that because there's a huge gap on the digital literacy and the infrastructure that supports the technology and the AI in real estate. So 2 questions. One is, who is supposed to do the training? Is it the government or is it us, the private sector? Then the other question is, for a continent and a region that is always playing catch up in global technological trends, how do we bridge that gap, especially in Kenya, in East Africa? How do we bridge that gap? Because from what we are doing right now, there's a lot of like manual processes. So I'm feeling like there's a very huge disconnect because we're talking about AI and all those things, but on the ground level, there's still a lot of manual. Like people who are embracing technology are at Excel levels. So how do we bridge that gap? Because the majority or the percentage of us that have embraced that are very small in comparison to the huge population. So yes, thank you.
Who wants to tackle that in 65 seconds?
I'll give it a go. So when we say the government or the private sector, I'll ask the question in a different way. Who composes the government? Isn't it the private sector? Aren't we the ones who elected the government? So it's a 50-50 responsibility. The growth comes from the private sector because that's where the need is. The government will create the policy and the groundwork. So it's a joint effort. The second part of the question was, sorry, it slipped completely.
The second part of the question was about how, instead of catching up to the rest of the
yes.
world, how do we leapfrog?
Okay, so I'll ask the question in a different, or rather, how many of you know which was the first country in Africa to adopt 4G technology in mobile? Anyone? Any wild? No? 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 Somalia. And that's what you call a technology leap. So being behind is not a bad thing because you do not need to learn all the mistakes. You take a leap. And that's where we stand. The faster we understand it, the better it is for Africa.
All right, thank you guys so much for the time.